Hey guys, Blue Kool-Aid here. I want to give you a video. I got a lot to cover here, so I'm just going to jump into it, guys. There's a lot going on. A couple things here I wanted to bring to you guys. I don't know, last week sometime, but I just simply didn't have the time. So I'm going to kind of go back a little bit, a few days, just to show you what's been going on. Obviously, this here is a video that I actually took myself. This is right here where I live, right in front of my own house. What you guys are going to see is you're going to see some very, very heavy rain and flooding. This is not a place that floods. I don't live in a flood area. I do live on a street that when it does rain hard, it will flood sometimes because of poor drainage. But this is above and beyond what it normally does, and an extreme, matter of fact. So what I'm doing is I'm gonna play this, and I'll talk while this is playing. But yeah, I mean it held right before this. You know, my wife had stuck a bowl out there. It wasn't really bad hail, but it was pea size. And this is back when they were having the tornadoes. Well, it was actually after that, and we've had similar events past this. So basically what I'm saying is our water table's up. And I know that a lot of channels have already talked about all the flooding. But I don't want us to forget or become complacent in what we're looking at, how important it is that all this stuff ties in together. So I'm going to hit play here. Yeah. So, I mean, can you guys, obviously you guys can see that. What you're seeing is about 2 foot of water in front of my house. You can see how slow the cars are driving. If you look by my steps there, you can see how it's already inundated the sidewalk. I mean, look, there's a whirlpool right there. I'll pause it so you guys can kind of get a better look at that. I'll replay that. But yeah, I mean, look over here. You can see the whirlpool. Okay, and that was just from the car driving by. But you see the waves? That was coming the opposite direction out of somebody's yard. My neighbor's yard across the street. Now, you're going to see that if you look straight across here in a second, you're going to see it almost gets up into his garage. And that would be immediate damage, you know. And this is stuff that, you know, no lives are at stake here or anything like that. But what I'm getting to show you is, I'm showing it to you because what happens is it's very dangerous. I know it's kind of comical what you guys are going to see, but it's dangerous what happens. We shouldn't do this. And this is really why I'm showing this. Because it's a safety thing for me. I don't want anybody to get hurt, you know. And my neighbors are going to come out. You see him? He's coming out. And he's going to this drain that gets clogged from yard debris every time we have heavy rains. Okay, and I got a drain over by my house also. But it doesn't affect me because I sit up above the road. But this makes it about halfway up my drive. And you're going to see him. He's standing in his yard. And he's standing in ankle to knee deep water. This is not normal. Now you see him doing this right here. He's trying to get the water to flow down into the drain. And it's just typical yard debris that causes those drains to plug. But watch this. I mean, this is ridiculous what people do. And this is why I'm showing this. I know it's going to be, it's kind of funny, but at the same time, I mean, come on guys, people get hurt. And again, guys, this is not normal. This is not a normal thing that happens. You know, I ain't gonna say it's never happened like this because it has, but not often. Now, you guys see that? I mean, isn't that ridiculous that somebody would do that? It just irritates me so bad when people do stuff like that because he's out there just trying to protect his property, and you got some moron just doing that to him. Okay, now I know you know, looking back on it, yes, it's kind of hysterical. It's kind of funny. I get it, right, guys? I'm sitting here chuckling a little bit myself. But that is just ridiculous. And then there they are standing. At this point, I got in my van and I actually crossed the road here and was blocking traffic. You know, can you guys see how far up in his yard it got? Okay, this is his house. And this is after he got out the flow. It was actually up here. It was almost into his garage. I mean, come on, guys. That's just ridiculous if you ask me. Very, very heavy rain, and it happened within this. This is what they call flash flooding, and most of us know what that is. But I'm showing you guys this just because this is legit, and this is something that we need to, we all need to pay attention to. And I'll show you, the depth of it again. And he's out there, like I said, and normally I'm out there with him when something like this even comes close to happening. Because if it does get in his garage, it causes damage. And this is just something that we've talked about, and I've wanted to get it on video for a while now. And I just think that we all have to be a little bit more cautious. And you've seen the cars at the beginning of this, that they didn't have to speed through there. Okay? Yeah. So, I mean, you see them, and they go slow at first. Well, I'm not sure if I can get back to it. Yeah, there we go. See how slow they're going? They don't need to speed through there to make it through that. But I wouldn't even do that if I was in a car. I would stop, either turn around, or wait. That's what you're supposed to do. To protect yourself and everybody in your car and anybody else. I mean, does somebody want to lose a life over trying to make it through a flooded area? Is everybody in that big of a hurry? And that's my whole point there. But I wanted to bring that to you guys and show you guys that, because that was just crazy footage that I got myself. And like I said, I think our climate is changing. Our weather patterns are changing. And we've talked about that multiple times here on my channel. And we'll continue to do so because they keep changing. Now there you can kind of see hail on the ground. That's all the bigger the hail got. It wasn't some big hail event. But it was, legitimate. I mean, this is all something that, and it's not just here where I'm at. I mean, this is a large area experiencing these kinds of things. Okay, I mean, there's places like in Arkansas that are now swamps. I mean, it's ridiculous, and the water has nowhere to go because we're getting rain every day. And I work in the lawn care industry, so guys, I can just tell you this: I got stuck the other day on flat ground, on top of a hill. Okay, and the reason why the top of the hill matters, for those of you guys that don't understand that, is that the water obviously is pulled by, follows gravity. So anything that's at the top of the hill is typically drier. So it shouldn't have been an issue. And I got completely stuck. It was ridiculous. And it's because, we had like 12 days of straight rain, or off and on, some sort of moisture, and stuff just doesn't have anywhere to go. And that's what we're all experiencing right now. And again, this isn't just in my area. So, and I wanted to bring that to you guys. So the next thing I want to show you guys, we will go ahead and talk about this right here real quick. Okay, this is the KP index, guys. This is our, solar flare and geomagnetic storm charts, basically. I've shown this multiple times before. You can see where it spiked. Okay, it got up to a 5. I think at one point it might have even, I'm not sure if it creeped into a 6, but if you look at the time date down there, it was back on the 8th. Okay, so what caused this? Were we expecting it? That kind of thing. Well, I do have some interesting things to kind of share with this, because typically when we get this spike, we will see an increase, like high solar winds. And and I've said this before, typically when we get higher winds, the density goes down. Well, that didn't happen this time. It was kind of odd to me, so I started thinking about it and kind of researching a little bit more. And so how can that happen? Well, I guess the way that I will explain it is that basically the density that we got hit with was picked up by the solar winds. Okay, and it carried it through, and that's why we got this spike, because we didn't really see a huge increase in the solar wind. Yes, we did see an increase, okay? I think it got up to like 700, and I'll show you what I mean here in just a second. Let's go down to here. Okay, this is at the time of that spike. Okay, so obviously this isn't a normal looking magnetopause, right? And there again, it does that, right? I mean, but when we do get hit with certain things like that, it's normal for our magnetopause to react like this. But my point is that, let me get you to this one. You see this? The 385? That's related to the solar wind, okay? That typically hangs in between, let's just say 300 and 350, maybe 400 to, if you want to give it a wide range, I would say 250 to 400. We've seen winds like that and not have hardly any effect on our magnetopause in the past. But what I'm trying to tell you guys here is that even though we have low solar winds, you see how it's affecting our magnetopause here? Why is it doing it like that? Well, in my opinion, there's a couple reasons here. The density was up at the same time. Basically, the wind picked up the higher density, and it came towards our, or the density just kind of went into the solar wind and I think these solar winds that we got at this time was from a coronal hole. They didn't last very long, guys. It was a very short event. It didn't really cause any issues that I know of, but we can expect these kinds of disruptions to affect our magnetopause at a greater level just because our magnetic shields are weak now. They're weaker than what they used to be. So this is a great example of how even though a low solar wind here is hitting us, this is almost in normal range. I would almost call that normal for solar wind. Okay, it's a little elevated, but it shouldn't be, our magnetopause should not be reacting like this unless it's weaker than it used to be. So what I'm saying is that it's not going to take as much to affect us as big, okay? So it's not going to take a big, huge event from the sun to actually have us see effects here on the earth. So if we do get a big event from the sun, you guys can really kind of see how that would not be a good thing, okay? You know, such as a big solar flare or a coronal mass ejection, a bigger one that was Earth facing. You know, and our shields are going to continue to weaken during the grand solar minimum. Okay? So, you know, even though the sun's going to sleep, and I've said this before, the sun actually helps protect us from the sun. Okay? Because when it's energized, we absorb some of that energy and it strengthens our shields. So that's how that works. So when the sun isn't giving us as much energy, we get weak. So when we get weak, when the sun decides to have that burst and we get hit while we're weak, it's going to have a greater effect. And that's why I'm showing you guys this. But yeah, you can see how this little event here definitely, and there that is, right? I mean, that's definitely not looking very normal. And you can see that, and we kind of got compressed. If you look at it here, okay, we're kind of compressed. And you know, we've seen that before. I'm not going to say that that's way out of the ordinary, because honestly, it's not. I've seen it a bunch. But, yeah. So, next thing, guys. I'm going to take you guys over to, well, first I'm going to explain what we're looking at. Okay, this is the map that shows us where the view from like SDO or Stereo A, the satellites that are out there that look at the sun. I've shown this before, and I actually did a whole video kind of explaining this, but I'll explain this shortly here. Again, the Earth is here. Oops. Earth's here, right? Okay, Stereo A is over here. So if we're here and we're looking at a capture from Stereo A, you can kind of get a better idea now of how we're going to view it. So when we see it on this picture, it's going to be from the view of Stereo A. All right, so things are going to look a little off. Basically, everything can just get moved to the left from your eyeballs. Okay, so if we were to see something on the left side of the picture, it would actually be off the back side of the sun from our view. Okay, and I've explained this before, but just kind of keep it as simple as you can in your own mind. just know that core 2 from stereo A is over here. We're here. So we're going to be looking at captures that are looking this direction, not from our perspective. If we look at SDO, we would be looking from our perspective, or Soho. But when we talk about stereo A, we're talking about off to the left. Okay? I just wanted to, show you that before we start going into this. Now, what's happened is Scott had captured a very, very, very good example, and it was shocking to a lot of us because on core 2, it's typically we don't see a whole lot, guys. We do, but it's so pixelated most of the time, and this is still pixelated, but what I'm saying is that we don't typically get to see things as clear as Scott was able to get it here. Okay, when he's seen this, I imagine his chin about hit the floor. Because this is something that was probably nowhere near expected. And again, I'm just going to play this a little bit, and then I'm going to point you guys over to his video there, because you guys should really go over and check it out. He did some great work here. Trying to get it to the right spot, but we'll just do this.
It is the 9th. What have I said before? We won't see this object during the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, the first 7 days of the month. Why? Because it's not in the position for us to catch it on any of these space cameras. What did I say before? Look to see this object during the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, through the 15th, maybe even into the 17th of every month. Then we'll lose it again. Then we'll pick it back up the last couple of days of every...
Okay, guys, you heard him say it, okay? This is what he's been saying, and I've shown other clips of him from his videos before saying the very same thing. So this is not just a one-time thing that he's been able to pinpoint, or at least give us a day range to where we should be looking and when we see these things. Okay? Basically what he's caught here, guys, I mean, you can see it for yourself right there. Okay, and this is looking from stereo A, remember that. So this is the backside of the sun where this object is at. Okay? Earth would be over here. We would be looking this way. So that's why we didn't see it on SDO. This is actually behind the sun. I mean, it could actually be, kind of out if you look three-dimensional. It could be like closer to us, like this direction. And we possibly could have picked it up on something, but we didn't, okay? This is on the backside. It's because of the highly elliptical orbit that this thing is in. Now, this is confusing all of us a little bit, okay? I'm just going to say that right off the bat. This is covered with a gaseous cloud. It's amazing that we've even, because this isn't in no way, shape, or form a camera anomaly, okay? That it just isn't. And there's lots of ways to prove that. I'm going to go into my gallery here, and we're going to start going through some pictures real quick. And again, I'm giving Scott all the credit for all this, because he did awesome work. He caught it, obviously, and yeah. This right here is something that I looked at after I seen what he had captured. And he even mentions this in his live stream there. And I'm going to leave a link, guys. Please go watch it. There's such good information in there. He explains it a lot better than what I can. But I went back and I just started looking at other captures close to it. Just kind of looking at the satellites, those kinds of things. And I seen this. Okay, this is on the 8th, okay, at 0-100, and obviously you guys can see that. That is a very sizable object, okay. This isn't what was deemed like Kool-Aid cars, okay, because we've seen those before too. Those are the ones that look kind of, this shape, and they usually comes in groups of 3s, and then there'll be a space, and there'll be 3 more, it'll be like 9. What those are, guys, is basically the insides of the camera or the insides of the tool that this thing is using. That's what it is. Okay, it's just getting illuminated. This is not what we're looking at here. This is nothing that shape happens camera wise. I mean, look at this. Okay, so we see this, and then I seen this. This was a little bit before Scott caught his, but I didn't see it until, I didn't even think to look at it until Scott had brought this up. So he mentions it. He's like, hey, this takes a team. Okay, it takes all of us, right? This is what he's talking about, because he caught this, which led me into looking at something else, and I caught that just to kind of prove that what he was showing has a little bit more validity also. Okay, it's all more and more evidence to show what we believe is there. Okay, now is this thing what we're talking about here on a 28-day orbit, like the other object? Is this the object? I mean, I honestly, I don't know. Okay, this thing was moving fast. It caught it. So I don't know where we're at as far as it falling into the 28-day orbit thing. We do know that it would be very close to the right position. So, we're still researching it out, still trying to get information on it. And, there's more than just me and Scott working on this. So just know that. Yeah. I mean, this was just crazy. So he sees this, right? Okay. I mean, this is just, yeah. So then he starts using his editing his photo editing software, which he's got awesome stuff. He upgrades stuff to 4K, and then he's got the editing stuff that he's able to draw this stuff out. Okay, I mean, look at this. All right, that is spherical. There's no doubt about that, and you would never see that unless Scott had ran it through his software. Okay. We're just going to scroll on through here. All right. I mean, this is just amazing. All right. Now, something else I want to point out. The capture I just showed you is very similar to this size. Right? It could very well be the same object that had just moved into that position. I don't know. It depends on the perspective of the satellite, and all those things come into play. But what's interesting is, I'm not sure if any of you guys noticed this yet, but this over here was happening at the same time. Okay. Very interesting. These are two objects here. Man, what direction are they traveling? I mean, all those questions come into play. I don't know. And that's why I'm going to point you guys over to Scott's video to go watch it, because he deserves the traffic on this. This is something that he caught, has spent a lot of time researching already, and will do more, I'm sure. This is one of the best, especially Core 2 captures I've ever seen of this. Okay? And I think what he's thinking is that this object, that we're catching here, here's the object, but then it has like an illuminated, like gaseous cloud around it. It doesn't necessarily look like debris, but it could be gaseous. Okay, and it could be debris, I guess, at some level, but it would be really fine debris, I would think, to have that kind of a look. And again, guys, I mean, he did this, and this is stuff that he's done on his own, and the editing stuff, he's really good at this. Okay, and then we're back to that. Now, again, guys, this is just more and more proof, and it's going to get more and more frequent, and we've said that. And that's why I keep showing you guys, when he says stuff like, hey, look on these dates. Okay, because the last few months, every time he says that, it happens. Okay, so we really got to pay attention to that and start looking at these dates really, really hard, and we may be able to catch stuff more and more, and I think that we will. Okay, and even when he says we'll have a lull period where we don't really catch it, we never see nothing. So I mean, it's like, again, this is a theory that's getting worked out in front of us. Okay, he's doing this out in the open. We're working this out in front of everybody so everybody can see the process. Okay, and I think that's really cool and really great. So, I don't, know what else to say about that, but please go watch that video. I mean, it is something to check out. He talks about a lot more on that video. He starts talking about some of the events that's going on and stuff around the world and stuff. And I'm going to go a little bit more into that here in a minute myself. Um, but yeah, so in this right here, look, okay, again, this is just editing that he's done just to kind of draw it out and show people. Okay, that's definitely a spherical object. It definitely is nothing that looks like what we quote unquote call a Kool-Aid car. That's one of my subscribers kind of dubbed, which I thought was awesome. It's funny. But I think we figured out what those are. You know, I think those are just basically imaging of the tool itself that's taking the capture. But look at this. I mean, and something else that Scott points out is the distance. This is what he even says he's confused a little bit, because the distance here, that's a pretty good distance away from the sun, guys. You know, the other object that we've been, you know, the 28-day thing has been a lot closer to the sun. Okay, because we were seeing it in the corona and close to the corona. All right. So, I mean, this one here is a little bit further out. Could it still be the same object or just part of the system? Don't know. You know, and Scott said it also over there that, hey, you know, at the very least, our inner solar system is being invaded somehow with something. Okay? So something's there. This is not something that is a tool effect, a camera effect, any of that. This is not a glitch. Okay? And I think that if you take in consideration that, number one, after he showed his, I went back and looked at stuff before, just really close to the same time frame. But we see that, okay? If this was a tool malfunction, we wouldn't see it multiple times, the same shape, in multiple positions. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. It would just be a one-time glitch. Okay, you can see a possible second glitch or whatever, but this is confirming basically that this is not a tool malfunction. Then, check this out. Okay, and I'm going to take you guys back to this real quick. Okay, remember guys, this is the point of view we're looking at. We're looking from stereo A. We're not looking as if we're standing on the earth. We're looking as if we're standing right here. So that's why things look like they're off to the left. Okay? That's what I'm trying to say. If we were looking from our point of view, it would be back here, right? We wouldn't even see it. That's why we don't see it when it's back there, because the sun's actually blocking it from us. The light from the sun doesn't allow us to see that. That's what the whole point is of even having stereo A out here, so we could see more stuff. And something else I'm going to point out right here is, you see stereo B over here? That thing's been down for years now. And the reason why is basically because we were seeing stuff that they didn't want us to see. Because if you can imagine, if this thing was operable and we could see the data from it, we would be able to see stuff way over here that we can't see over here. Stereo B would pick up stuff stereo A couldn't. That was the whole purpose of putting A and B out there, so we could cover most of the sky. But now stereo B's, no, we can't see any of that. It supposedly went into some role and couldn't communicate, but yet it is still being plotted on the tools. Why is that? Well, you know, they said they lost communication, but then they said they kind of might have regained it or what have you. Whether or not the data is, you know, being able to be retrieved or whatever, I think that it's still operable. I don't think it ever went down. That's just my opinion. I think we were seeing too much and they didn't want us to see it. Because you guys have to remember that these satellites were paid for by our tax dollars. That's why we're even allowed to even look at this stuff. So you can't tell me that they don't have this data from both of these satellites, and they're seeing this stuff in real time. They're seeing things, and they're doing all kinds of crazy stuff. This is why we have to scrutinize stuff, right? Okay? You know, and we do. All right? So that's why we try to make sure that it's not a camera anomaly when we see things, or some sort of editing or whatever. We do our best. We do our diligence there, and we really try to, you know, go deep into that. And I ain't saying I don't ever make a mistake, because God knows that I do. All right? But the fact of the matter is, none of us have billions of dollars in our back pocket to be able to throw satellites out there and have nobody else be able to look at it but us, right? I mean, who has that? So, we really have to at least look at these and take these into consideration. And so when we see stuff like this, is it a mistake that they got through? Is it whatever? And sometimes, a lot of times, I think it is a mistake. I think sometimes they don't catch it quick enough, and we're able to see it, see the data, okay? And, then we've even seen them, like, we'll catch it, we'll record it, and then they'll take it away and add a different capture there. It's really crazy. So that's why we have to really look into this and take it how we take it and really dive into it. But anyway, that's stereo A. What we're going to look at here, guys, is from stereo A. And it's the EUVI, okay? It's this one, okay? This is, we look at SDO a lot, which is the view from the Earth. But this is basically the same type of technology, but this is from stereo A. It's EUVI. It's 304 angstrom. What are we looking at, right? Well, what we're looking at is, this is at the exact same time, or right around the same hour frame of the capture that Scott caught. Okay? This is not typical. This isn't something we typically see. Typically, none of this, it's usually just all black out past that. And every once in a while, we'll see like a little blip, pixelization. And that's something else I'm going to say here. This is very, very pixelated. This always is. There's nothing we can do about that. So I zoomed in and look at this. Okay? That's a perfect spherical object of some sort. Very highly pixelated. But what gives it a little bit more validity is the fact that, look right in the middle. Okay? That's light. That's some sort of, it's illuminating there. Whether the sun's illuminating it, whether it's illuminating something of itself, I don't know. And something else I considered, it almost looked like something was spiraling here. I don't know. It's hard to really tell, guys, but all I know is this showed up at the same time. And I've never seen anything this shape on this tool. Okay? And again, keep in mind, this is looking from stereo A, not from the view of the Earth. So, I wanted to show that to you guys too, guys. And then the last thing I want to talk about, guys, is earthquake. Okay? I mean, a 4.0 in Cleveland, Ohio. No fault lines, nothing. Okay, I mean, come on. And this is a capture off of Scott's webpage. He writes articles there every day, guys. You guys need to go check it out. He covers the gamut. He covers space weather. He writes articles on this kind of stuff. He writes stuff on global weather. He writes stuff even, just geopolitically sometimes. And he just covers the whole thing. It's news. Okay? And it's good stuff. He researches it out. Go check it out, guys, please. I mean, this stuff right here it's good information. And again, he don't just write something out. He researches it. You don't just say, oh gosh, he's not trying to be sensationalizing at all. That's not how it works. Whenever he does show something like I just showed you, he captured, the sensationalism that you're seeing there is legit. Because it is kind of shocking. Let's keep that in mind. I mean, and again, is a 4.0 in Cleveland exciting stuff? Is that sensationalism? Probably not. Okay? But see, he's still writing about it because it's news. And it's legit stuff. Alright? Now, this is very odd positioning. There's no fault line. Now, here's the USGS from it. Okay? Now, what I want you guys to pay attention to... Oh, my gosh. I took a still shot and forgot to... Anyway, it was 5 kilometers deep. That's almost right on the surface, guys. Very seldom do we see, even on a fault line that close to the surface, something that big. This isn't on a fault line, and it's a 4.0. It just, completely odd. I mean, it just shouldn't be that way. So what I did was I went and looked at the magnetosphere at the same time, right? So this is at the exact time of the earthquake. Now, something that I've noticed just myself, when we look at this tool in particular, just this tool, okay? Do you guys see how there's nothing going on back here, right? It's completely blue, like it's all the pressure's not there. I don't know what's causing these earthquakes or whatever, but I think this might have a little something, not a big thing to do here. But can you know how, like, if you basically, like, if something's pushing on you, you have to push back to give it a level pressure, or the same pressure to keep it in the same position, right? So whatever you push, whichever side pushes harder first, is the one that wins and moves, right? So if we have a constant pressure on our Earth, okay, and then that outside pressure gets relaxed a little bit, which is kind of what we see right here, because we're not seeing any pressure being put on us from any direction, okay, except for the normal front side. All right. So if that pressure is relaxed a little bit, wouldn't it make sense that we pushed back, the Earth pushed back a little bit more before it, it just kind of pushed out a little bit, and maybe that's what causes some of these earthquakes? I don't know. That's just something I think about. I'm not sure if there's even any science behind that. But this is just something I've noticed, that sometimes when we see these bigger, odd earthquakes, I'll go look at this tool and I'll see this same signature. There'll be no pressure coming from anywhere. Okay, just from the normal side here on the front. But all the other backside pressure that we've been seeing is gone. Okay, now I'll take you guys here and show you what backside pressure looks like, just so you guys understand. Oops. Okay, and I showed you guys this a minute ago. We'll go to that. Now you see this? This is what I'm talking about, backside pressure. You see how that line is coming, and it's actually making it kind of almost look like an egg around the Earth. We're getting kind of squashed. That's what I'm talking about. So the Earth has to push back a little bit to keep us, in the same position. All right? So, when we get hit with something, it's the same, if anything, just physically with yourself, right? If you don't push back the same amount, then you're going to move. That's just kind of what I think might be going on here a little bit. I'm not saying that's everything that goes on here. I'm just saying it might even be like a side effect of the actual whatever. I don't know. Scott's really, really, really good at looking at that kind of stuff and talking about the angular connections, and I do understand it, but I don't understand it enough to try to explain it to you guys. And that's why I'm trying to learn that. I really am. So as soon as I understand that more, I'll be able to give you guys better information. But until then, I'm going to point you guys to the guys that do know about this and have researched it and have done a great job doing it. Many times, like Dutch Sense and Scott and Ben over at Suspicious Observer, those guys will say, hey, and BP Earthwatch, hey guys, we need to be paying attention. Maybe earthquake's coming soon, right? Just earthquake watch type of thing. And almost every time it happens. Okay, so we got to pay attention to these guys. Scott, BP Earthwatch, Ben over Suspicious Observer, and Dutch Sense. Those are the four that I go to. Okay, so guys, go check them out. I mean, honestly. But yeah, guys, and I have to give Scott some props here, because he just threw me all this information. He took the time and sent me all these captures from this. Yes, we could have went over and watched his video, but I don't want to do that. You want to know why? Because he did the work here, and I'm going to leave a link, and I want you guys to go watch that whole video. Please go watch it. Give it a quick look. I mean, even if you don't watch the whole thing, watch some of it and get some information on this, what we're talking about here. Okay, again, I'm learning, and I'm trying to show you guys my learning process, which is why I don't take down my earlier videos. Okay? That is the truth. Some of the stuff that I thought was true back when I first started my channel is not true. All right? I've learned since then, and you guys know I always come out with a correction when I do this. Okay? But I leave those there for that reason, so you guys can see that, that you guys don't have to be timid about doing the research yourself also. Even though there might be a learning curve and you may make some mistakes, go back and look at my mistakes. Okay? That's what I want you guys to understand. So do some of this research yourself. Take the information we give you and go look at it yourself. You may come up with a totally different, answer. Okay? You might. A lot of times you probably will. And it all means something. Every bit of it. And, I want to show you guys this too real quick before I get off here. I forgot about this. This is the northern southern hemisphere. This is magnetics. This doesn't normally look like this. Okay. I'll take you through a couple captures here. You can see the red basically, it's just basically, I'm just going to call it heat, whatever you want to call it, pressure, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I mean, this doesn't typically look like this. So when we do see it like that, we really take a closer look at it. But yeah. So anyway, guys, go check all that stuff out. And again, I mean, look at that. That's just crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. It just seems to, keep happening. And again, I've shown you guys a lot of this stuff already. I'm going to be going through some stuff and trying to explain, what we call solar vortexes, which is basically what they used to think was a tornado on the sun, but they've come out with papers since then explaining it has to do with magnetics, believe it or not. And these solar vortexes we're talking about are like, they're bigger than the Earth, like 5 times the size of the Earth. So, I've done some research on that. I'll be putting a video together. So that's what we'll be talking about. I'll try to integrate that into, another video. But, guys, I just don't know how much more evidence somebody would need to have to understand that there's something there. Whether the 28-day thing is the thing, whether, it's this or that or this or that. We all have to understand that we are going through changes in our solar system, which is in turn going to affect our Earth. All right? I think we all can see it. Don't forget about UV either, okay? Don't forget about chemtrails, right? You guys keep that in mind. UVC getting on the ground from it's not supposed to be able to happen unless it's coming from an unnatural source. If it is coming from a natural source, then our atmosphere is jacked up way more than we thought because it's supposed to absorb it. Go Google it. And like I said, I did a whole video on that, guys. But please cover yourself. Sunscreen only protects against UVA and B, guys. UVC is what I'm talking about. It goes to the molecular level. It will affect your DNA. So, and you can't block it. Your skin's supposed to block some of it, and it does block some. But anything that makes it through will attack at a molecular level down to the DNA. Okay? So that's why UVC is so bad. And it's been thought that it hasn't been able to hit the surface yet, but we're seeing it. Go watch Mr. MBB3 channel. He has that network of people, and they report on that every day. They're picking up UVC every day now. And yeah, that's a subject that we really need to address. Okay? But anyway, guys, God bless. Yeshua saves, and you can drink this Kool-Aid.